Hey, everybody, it's Matt Pinfield. You might remember me from MTV, VH1. I'm syndicated radio host. I'm doing a lot of different things, but one of the things that I love to do is listen to the Shout It Out Loudcast with Tom and Zeus.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Boy. This is Gene Simmons.
Put that cookie down.
Kiss.
Stop pressing the button.
Stockbroker Simmons.
Star?
Paul Stanley.
Is that what he does? Stop shouting.
My name is Frehley.
He's not what you would call a handsome man.
Oh, no. Here come the kiss times. Is that a positive thing? Okay.
All right.
I'm going to grab me an ice cold mellow yellow.
Why? Why do that to the fan?
Stop it.
Why? Because fuck them.
What are you talking about? 617-525-0850. You do? Hey, fucko. Do you like Kiss? Settle down.
Hello. Hey, what's up there, Kiss Army? Tom and Zeus, another episode of Shout It Out Loudcast, episode 325. Brian Tishi.
Yeah, drummer on the show. Ah, this is good. This is good. We've been talking to Brian for a while, all the way back since when he contributed to the book, Raise Your Glasses. So finally hooked up to get him on here.
Yes. We're on a roll. All these fucking great drummers. Charlie Benante, Brian Tishi, Mike Portnoy. Tom, how you doing?
I'm great. How you doing? No, I'm excited. You know me and drummers, and I love when guys nerd out. And well, we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll tell you a little bit more, but it is again just we've had perfection with our guests.
We have not had a strikeout. I don't even think we've come close to a strikeout.
No, but every time we get somebody on, we're like, good God, that may have been my favorite interview.
Right.
Good God, that may have been our.
Right, and then the next one comes. Yeah.
Yeah, it just. I can't wait for you to hear it, and we'll tell you all about it afterwards.
Yeah, it's great. It's good. It's good.
Last week we had our member profile for Vincent Cusano.
That should not initiate random laughter saying that name. It shouldn't, but it does. Because if you say Peter Criscola or you don't laugh. When you say Vincent Cusano, it's just see what I mean? It's just you can't not laugh. That's probably our fault because we ruined the poor guy's name. But anyways.
Private Cusano. What are you going to get?
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, Tom, we did a poll. What was the poll?
Yeah, so of course we talked about Vinnie and all of his contributions to the band, guitar-wise, songwriter-wise. So the poll was, which of these songs written or co-written by Vinnie is your favorite? There was a lot to choose from, but as always on Twitter, there's only 4 options. So we went with I Love It Loud, Unholy, Lick It Up, and 1,000,000 to 1. Pretty good spread here, but Unholy comes in first at 38%. Then we got 1,000,000 to 1 at 26, Lick It Up at 22, and I Love It Loud at 15. It's always hard to pick songs. Let's look at a couple comments here on the poll. Our buddy Bobby Kenner, awesome episode as usual, boys. I appreciate the passionate discussion about members, especially one as polarizing as Vinnie. I had no idea on some of the other side projects he did until you guys brought them up. As for songwriting, to me, Unholy is the GOAT from his end. I agree. John Restano, Vinnie was a great co-writer with Gene and Paul. Surprised there was no mention of his time with Chris and Cusano Landscaping. Are they still in business? Well, John,
doesn't sound like they're doing any business, Tom.
It does not. The landscaping season is just heating up here in the Northeast, so we'll see if we see them around people's yards. Well, I don't know. We'll see. John Gross, 1,000,000 to 1 has always been the one that I go to. Bruno McDonald just simply shares a GIF saying they're just all amazing. Well, yeah, of course they are. Buddy Brad Baird, 1,000,000 to 1 is still my favorite every time some stupid girl would break up with me. Well, Brad, hopefully those days of you being broken up by a stupid girl are long gone, my friend. Let's look at a couple of episode-specific comments here and see what people have to say about Vinnie. Our buddy Jeff Trott
Guess who's back in the motherfucking house with a fat dick for your motherfucking mouth?
He shares a photo of Iron Sheik, and if you follow the Iron Sheik on Twitter,
he's dead. You know.
I know. But I really I thought he was operating his own Twitter account.
If you follow the Iron Sheik, he's tweeting from the land of beyond.
Right. But if you follow him, everything he says, he just says "fuck blank." So Jeff posts a picture of Iron Sheik and he says "fuck the Vinnie Vincent." Our buddy MD says, "I just looked up that Creatures of the Screen book on Amazon. I already know how good the first book is," and then he points to us because he shared a screenshot. And then he was asking about another book. I don't know anything about it. I can tell you right now, Mark, there's a lot of AI authoring these days regarding books. So just be careful what you're buying out there. I know that our book, I know that Creatures of the Screen, I know those are books. So I don't know anything about that other one. So just, it's your money. Go for it if you like it. ETM Forever says, like it or not, he did kind of save Kiss. Uh-oh. Our buddy Steve says, did he save Kiss? For me, no. It was Paul and his stubbornness not to see the band die. If it was anyone other than him, it was Bruce Kulick and Eric Carr. They needed the stability after losing so many members. Also, Invasion is so much better than All Systems Go. Oh, that's wrong, Steve. But you kind of have fucked up taste anyways. Correct me if I'm wrong. Your favorite Kiss album is The Elder. So, right off the bat. But we love you, my friend. And that's what we got on the world of Twitter this week, Zeus.
All right, the Book of Face. Mario Aguilera III. Vinny's such an oddball and constantly shoots himself in the foot, but so talented. He was gone so fast, but is still talked about amongst the fans to this day. His personality and loony behavior has always given us even more to discuss. Absolutely right.
Yep.
Anthony, don't call me Mike Hunt. Love this episode. Did Vinny save Kiss? A question that never needs to be asked again because you're spot on. Nope. But his impact is huge. If he towed the line and stayed with the band longer, what would he have become of Kiss? Maybe a songwriter would have kept them as leaders through the 80s. Less my way, and every time I look at you, more unholy, maybe. Now, wouldn't that have been great, huh? Over on Loudcasters, we got a shit ton of comments here.
Oh, yeah.
TJ James, so sad what became of Vinny, considering all he could have been. Paul Stanley's brilliance and taking off the makeup is what saved Kiss. Thank you. There was a reason I think he's trying to say there was a reason no other member of the band released a single for 10 years. Paul was writing hits long before Vinny, in spite of Creatures and Lick It Up being awesome. Great job, guys.
Yeah, good point.
The great Rex J. Cox. Great episode. Vinny has always been my least favorite member of Kiss. There's no denying that he's a good songwriter, but what a dumpster fire. I agree. Paul Stanley saved Kiss, and I will die on that hill. When Vinnie Vincent releases that new album, he should get Corey Feldman as a supporting act.
Oh,
God.
Christ.
Oh, no.
Yikes.
Ray Gallus, great episode as always. Love the diversity in the subject matter. Agree with Tally's annoyingly endearing comment about the previous week, but I'm going to argue a bit with my hockey brother Zeus on Vinnie Vincent. Regardless how anyone feels about Vinnie Vincent, he did save Kiss. I think everyone overrates the impact of Paul during this period. Kiss was passé at the time of Lick It Up. Creatures was a sales failure. The perception was that the band was irrelevant during the MTV era. Even I Love It Loud, a video makeup was regulated to off hours, only played on the metal show MTV played. The famous Unmaskers done late night MTV didn't want to waste prime time on them. Also, from the perspective of Polygram, they were losing money on Kiss, and they were also about to be dropped unless Lick It Up was a success. Kiss being unmasked was relevant only to a very small number of people in MTV universe. Most people watching MTV had no idea who they were since it catered to kids who were born after their heyday. It's not for the quality of songs on Lick It Up. Gene would be acting, Paul would be playing tiny clubs as a nostalgia act. Lick It Up, song for song, to me is their best studio album of any era. largely because MJJ kept Vinnie in check while producing the album. Without the quality of songs developed with Vinnie Vincent, Kiss would be done. Thanks again for the great work. Have at it. Here's my problem with what you're saying. You are absolutely right that Vinnie Vincent made that, now in hindsight, such a great album. But it wasn't considered that great of an album. Lick It Up, the song took off, Kiss taking off the makeup, and it was a hook that got onto radio as well. However, they did it even more so, which sold better on Animalize with Heaven's on Fire. It was a bigger hit. So Paul, let's say without Vinnie, would have had Heaven's on Fire and put that out as the first non-makeup album, and they still would have been huge. So is this album better? Not even fucking close to Lick It Up. But Paul kept it alive. It wasn't because people gravitated towards Lick It Up because of the songs. I'm sorry. Nobody was saying at the time, oh my God, the songwriting on this album is so much better. Nobody was doing that. Kiss just all of a sudden now seemed new and fresh again with no makeup, and Paul had some great songs, and he would have had great songs with or without Vinnie.
Here's what I'll say. It's a great point. Great point. And this is just a great I love topics that really don't have a definitive answer, that have strong opinions backed by, how you feel about each member of the band. But what I'll say about this, just very quickly, I'm not going to say that Vinnie saved Kiss or whatever. What I'm going to say that Vinnie did, undeniably, in my opinion, is that he made Kiss badass. Because he wrote songs that Paul could never fucking write in his dreams. Paul wrote Lick It Up. He wrote, songs like My Way, songs like Heaven's on Fire. Then he wrote Unholy, Not for the Innocent, All Hell's Breaking Loose, Saint and Sinner. He gave some balls and some grit to the band, which is why I kind of wish if he wasn't a fucking crackpot that he could have stuck around, because the rest of those 80s albums don't really have any of that. And the one thing I will say that Vinnie has in his corner is that people largely regard Lick It Up and Unholy as the two greatest non-makeup albums. They both are heavily written by Vinnie. Whether that's a coincidence or whether that's causation, I don't know, but that's where I'll stay with Vinnie.
Yeah, the problem, Tom, is we see that now. I think
that's all we can do,
the praises of Lick It Up. Right. But I don't think Lick It Up, if you take Lick It Up out and Heaven's on Fire came out and Mark St. John was there, I think Kiss would have survived in the 80s as well.
And that's why, and I agree.
That's why I'm saying there is no saving Kiss.
And I agree with
Vincent was incredible because he could write great songs with Paul. He can write great songs with Gene. Right. That's why he made it great. But it has nothing to do with the saving. Kiss's career wouldn't have continued without him in Lick It Up.
I agree with you.
That album wouldn't have been as good.
I just think he gave Kiss something that they needed. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the most highly regarded non-makeup albums are the ones that are heavily influenced with Vinnie songs.
Absolutely.
But it's a great topic. But anyways.
Yeah. Frank Angelo, another great episode breaking down the enigma that's Vincent Cusano. Talented as fuck, but never seemed to get out of his way. Just remember, Vinnie hates drummers as much as he hates dogs. Strange human being. Michael Murphy, for the reasons I hope everyone understands, I think I speak for all my canine friends when I say do not care for this Vincent Cusano character. Woof, woof. And he put a picture of a startled-looking dog.
Poor doggies.
Charles, don't call me Mark Eaton. Since I became a true fan of the band after Asylum before Crazy Nights, my assessment may be a little different than others, so I'll break them down. Vinnie didn't save Kiss. Tommy did more to actually save the band later on. Vinnie's contributions did save the Lick It Up album. Legit could have released 5 singles if the record company moving on from them. If 1,000 people tell you someone is hard to work with, believe them. If you're kicked out of your own band, you might be a problem. He never got that memo. The Lick It Up video should have been all live performances without the apocalyptic theme. Seeing this little street gang walking down the street minding its own business had me thinking, Who's the chick following Gene, Paul, and Eric? Vinny's talent for writing for this band was obvious on Lick It Up, but became undeniable with his credits on Revenge, Unholy Heart of the Crow. Incredible. 6, his Ankh Warrior makeup design was really cool. I always thought Tommy should have worn that instead of Ace's makeup, much less hate mail. 7, you get a vibe that Private Cusano likes butt stuff. Okay. I'll leave that last one alone. John Whiteman. Although he was involved with some of Kiss's best material, the thing I love most about Vinnie Vincent is the absolute batshit fever dream insanity around literally every aspect of his life. Typical has-been rock star arrested for domestic violence story. Nope. He had containers full of dead dogs.
Oh, God.
Comeback event for Kiss fans trying to relaunch his career. Will he have a badass Elvis 68 moment? Nope. He showed up looking like an aging housewife in a pantsuit and heels while being interviewed.
Go ahead.
While being interviewed by a Ralphie May looking fat guy.
Ralphie May. I know.
Oh my God. I cannot believe he just said that.
Ralphie May.
I don't look that appetizing, though. I'm a little fat in the ass.
The aforementioned Jeff Trott once again put fuck Vinnie Vincent.
No, fuck the Vinnie Vincent.
Well, this one is just says FVV.
Okay.
Julian Grandison. I knew nothing about Vinnie until I saw Kiss Exposed with that amazing Rio footage. Agree that his makeup looks so great. Almost took my mind off Paul's Kiss crop top, which always looks so wrong. What a polarizing character, but essential member of the band. Another 2-3 albums after look it up, what it could have been amazing. Absolutely. Oh, what I have done. I think that was one of my things and something we said. What do I wish for? I wish that Vinny had a couple more albums in him with Kiss.
100%.
Tom, not that Tom Selleck. I do not think Vinny saved Kiss, but I think he rescued Kiss. Yes, there is a difference. Rescued. That word emphasized the act of being freed from immediate danger by someone acting promptly and vigorously. Save. This word can mean freed from danger, but it also can mean preventing harm, loss from occurring. Thanks for the fucking dictionary, fucking Tom. I don't get it.
I responded with a Homer Simpson gif of him reading a dictionary.
Fucking jeez. Brad Rustoven.
Oh, his comment's good.
Honest question here. I know Vinnie Vincent's credit as a co-writer in 8 of 10 songs to Lick It Up, but do we have any concrete information on what he actually contributed to the songs, riffs, melodies, etc., lyrics? No, I don't know.
Then he continues. He continues. Keep going.
Here's what I'm going with this. I feel like Vinnie Vincent's given too much credit with Kiss. Yes, he's a co-write credit on some good songs, some Creatures, Lick It Up, and Revenge, but he didn't solely write any of them. The Vinnie Vincent songs where he was a sole songwriter, other than a couple of gems, the rest were forced, unmemorable, hookless filler, proven by lack of success of these albums. While he's a good songwriter, I think he needs a co-writer or a real producer to create good songs. And to rub salt in the wound, Mark and Dana, who didn't contribute to any songs on Vinnie Vincent one album, ended up releasing multi-platinum smash 2 years later. They were the two sole songwriters. Ouch. Incorrect. Dude, how many songs does his name have to touch on those albums? And you see what he wrote and which songs he didn't write. And then you listen and you're like, yeah, those ones are much better. That you don't figure out that he's the fucking reason why those are better. I mean, come on. Look at what's on Revenge and which songs he touched.
Right.
That's not a coincidence. And by the way, we talk about the fucking brilliance of All Systems Go all the time, especially songs like That Time of Year. Are you fucking kidding me? Come on. Yeah, there's the problem with Vinny is that at some points when he had that freedom to write for himself, he had no one to restrain him and pull him in. So sometimes, yeah, I agree that he needs someone to help him out. That doesn't take away from anything. What's his name? Desmond Child's not a successful songwriter because he co-wrote Heaven's on Fire and Living on a Prayer. I mean,
by the way, just to clarify, and I love Brad, Vinnie Vincent wrote every song on All Systems Go.
Yeah, thank you.
Every song. Every song.
That fucking album is incredible, by the way.
It is. Yep.
Oh no.
Oh, what?
Joey fucking I take fucking movie clip type videos for my real estate show, Romanek, Hall of Famer.
Joey Slim Fit Capri Jeans Romanek.
Wearing women's capri that go up to his fucking
the summer's coming. He's shopping for a pair of loafers to wear with those capris.
His penny loafers. Wasn't it him not too long ago? It was like, hey, I'm looking for a pair of slacks.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Murph suggested go to Sears, get a pair of Toughskins.
Dude, not just publicly ask people on Facebook to fucking help you find pants. Did you? What the fuck, dude?
It's part of it's part of the real estate life. He's got to,
buy this home and get a pair of 2-for-1 from fucking Men's Warehouse.
If you're a big fan of the relaxed fit Cheetos,
big, tall, and fat, fucking
I'll throw a pair of 32s in here for you if you buy this house.
Oh man, Joey Romanek. Vinny had a ton of talent, but just can't get out of his own way and burns every bridge he possibly can. As for the question about saving Kiss, I personally think that Kiss was saved by Paul Stanley's drive and determination.
Yes.
Fucking ta-da!
Needless to say, I didn't have a lot of friends.
What does that have anything to do with?
I don't know. Paul wants some sympathy. I don't know. I think that there were a number of songwriters that could have worked with Kiss in those days, and Vinny just happened to be the right place at the right time. From a body of work perspective, Eric Carr and Bruce are far more important in the story of Kiss than Vinnie Vincent is. Now, hopefully this post goes through, as my Facebook is moving really slow today. I think it's that people are probably... There are probably 89,733 KISStards DMing Tally Faulkner asking for her bodysuit photos. What did I fucking tell him?
Leave Tally alone, please. We're going to have to start getting in the enforcers here.
God bless our buddy Tally. She is hopefully coming to the States pretty soon, and our greetings and salutations go out to her because we fucking love her. And the bodysuit photos and images are fucking for me alone. Not even Jesus Tom Christ is allowed to have those thoughts and interfere with them.
Nope. There's a special Patreon tier. It's the Tally tier.
Yes. So and you of all people, like, I just picture Tally in that fucking smoking like a Catwoman suit, and all of a sudden comes fucking slack wearing Joey Romanek in the. Hey guys, how are my loafers looking? Just
could I interest you in a 2-bedroom flat?
Hey, the condo meeting's about to get started here, and
he's lucky we love him.
This was the comment. I'm not saying the bodysuit broke the internet, but if Facebook's crawling, blame the curves, not the code. The bodysuit sends its regards. P.S. Don't kiss and tell, so you'll never know the real answer. And then I had to fucking respond. Fucking Joey ruins my thoughts of Tally by inserting himself. Get out! Fucking get out!
All of this is inappropriate, and I don't support any of this.
Yes. Tally gave me the exclusive rights to that image only for me. And that's it.
That's disgusting, and I don't support this. I don't support this. But anyways, continue.
All right. Daniel Haller, Houston. Vinny writes great songs, but he can't compose a solo to save his life. What's the one there? Songs off of All Systems Go. He's got some great ones there. He's got a great one on 1,000,000 to 1. He's got some good ones. Yeah. Nothing like mind blown, but very good touch, good emotion. Nothing crazy like fucking Boys Are Gonna Rock with everything in the kitchen sink is thrown in. Anytime I'm playing the lead in the solo in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, don't musically vomit. Don't go full Vinny. He helped Kiss when they were in a tough spot, but he also would eventually rip the band apart if they hadn't booted him when they did. And the image of him, that stupid wig and that pink double flying V from Boys video, oof, there's no coming back from that.
By the way, I just want to back up one of my comments regarding All Systems Go and Brad's comment with with Slaughter, etc. I know he was talking about Slaughter and how it went 2 million copies and Stick It To You and all that stuff with, and all that after Vinnie got kicked out of his own band. But my point was just to say that All Systems Go crushes and Vinnie wrote every song on it. So I just kind of wanted to back out.
No offense to what did Slaughter do after that album?
Well, be careful. There's a lot of Slaughter tards out there that are going to their Live in Rio album is fucking amazing. I got that on colored swirl tropical water colored vinyl.
Yeah, well, you know what?
It sounded like a diabolical form of punishment. I pictured going into a hospital room and having somebody torture me.
I don't think Paul's a fan of it.
He's not. He's definitely not. Nope.
All right. Well, let's move over to YouTube. The Great West Beach. Zeus, you're wrong. Vinnie definitely saved Kiss with his songwriting, playing, and vocals. You heard what Paul did with Animalize and Hot in the Shade, and you trust him to bring Kiss into the modern era? Yeah, what's wrong with those albums, buddy? I'm sorry. Vinnie's playing was reeled in on Creatures of the Night and Lick It Up albums, and would have liked to hear what he could have contributed to Animalize. There, I said it. Rock on, boys. Yeah, I would love to have heard it too. I'm not taking anything away from that, but I think Kiss would have been just as successful without him. I think those albums are better with him, but that's what I'm saying.
And let's be serious. I don't think Vinnie would have done too much different than fucking Mark St. John in terms of lead guitar on the Animalize.
Yeah. Strange Ways says, Vinnie Vincent saved Kiss. It's just too bad he couldn't save himself.
That's fair.
Joseph Kiss Sr. writes, for me, Vinnie will always be the biggest enigma in KISStory. So many questions, yet few answers. Metal, I think he's trying to say mental, but he writes, mental health issues are there clearly. Even from a practical standpoint, how has he made a living over the past 3 decades? Does he ghostwrite for artists in Nashville? Who knows? So many things this guy don't add up. Seems like he's burned every available bridge in Kiss World, which is sad given what he contributes to the band. I would be stunned if he's a special guest at Storm's Vegas event, but maybe he'll be signing autographs in a hotel room at Circus or on Fremont Street somewhere. Who knows? I'd love to see him there, but it ain't happening. Let's be honest.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tom, over to you.
Let's look at what we got on Instagram here. MD David 9000 says, probably the best songwriter they had. I don't know. Dave Rockstar, great episode, and I learned something new as always. Didn't know he had worked on Happy Days. I love that show. P.S. Ace actually has 2 official tribute albums which came out in the 90s, and one of them features the Vinnie Vincent Invasion song Back on the Street, which Ace had demoed back in the day with Frehley's Comet. Yeah, we got a lot of tribute album comments here about that. Abusement. Tom and Zeus, first off, thank you for shout out during the episode. I can't wait for the SIOL guitar picks to come. Yes, Patreons. They will certainly get used. Vinnie had 4 songs demoed at the time of his dismissal that were intended for the Animalize album. Back in the Streets, Boys Are Gonna Rock, Animal, and Shoot You Full of Love. My question is, would you replace any of those off of Animalize? And if so, which ones? Well, I don't know about that. I couldn't imagine how different the album would have sounded. Imagine Paul Stanley writing a song with both Desmond Child and Vinnie Vincent on the album. The thought literally makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Thank you again for your kindness, acknowledgement, and all that you do. Sincerely, Scott, a.k.a. Abusement. Well, I'll tell you right now, Boys Are Gonna Rock and Shoot You Full of Love are fucking awesome 80s hair metal songs. And if you put them on Animalize and got rid of probably Lonely as the Hunter and Murder in High Heels, you got a fucking crushing 80s Kiss album right there, to answer your question on that. But anyways, let's look at a couple emails.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Arnold wants emails.
Yeah, he's going to get them. Our buddy from Finland, Yanni Aslak Rossinen.
Who the fuck is this asshole?
Oh, Jesus. Come on, Samuel L. We love Yanni. I have to agree with what Zeus said. Vinnie is a great songwriter, especially a co-writer to another good writer like Paul. But as a live player, I have never been able to stand his nonsensical playing and butchering the classics. Since the 80s, I've tried to listen to the Invasion albums. Just can't get through them. Oh, dude, go back to All Systems Go. They're everything that was wrong with 80s hair metal. And aside from the speed, I never understood the praise about his playing abilities. Having said that, one thing Vinnie actually has is a great tone. It is powerful, instantly recognizable, and unlike his soloing, tasteful and memorable. Oh boy, I don't know about that. I don't think Vinnie saved Kiss, but he could have made Animalize a significantly better album by sticking around as a co-writer. Well, we've kind of addressed that already, so I kind of agree with you there. Scott Greer. What a great episode. This really puts his brief time associated with the band in great perspective. Both of your lists just highlight how this 3-album body of work stands out. Talk about some damn good songs and catalog-defining songs like Lick It Up, War Machine, I Love It Loud and Unholy. What could Kiss have further done with Vinnie as a songwriter? Would we have seen songs like Turn on the Night, Forever, or Reason to Live? My guess is probably, since Paul has that ability to craft songs like that we have all preached for years. If Vinnie Vincent were still in the band, if and when Unplugged happened, would he be jettisoned out for the original 4? I guess the same if Eric Carr had lived. A long lineup of Gene, Paul, Eric, and Vinnie would have been amazing. Wow. FYI, can we get some more talk on the Lean On Me movie? Fair East Side and the Kid Ray comments crack me up. Fair East Side.
I want everybody here to look at this fat, slovenly boy.
Someone's beating up Kid Ray.
Kid Ray. Well, I know who's beating up Kid Ray.
I'm 6'2", 230 pounds, and I have a vagina.
Somebody raises their hand. They go, Nicole Bass is.
Oh, my God almighty.
Oh.
Our buddy Mark Bowmer. I couldn't wait for this episode to gain your thoughts on the ultimate Kiss member, mystery wrapped in enigma, wrapped in stupidity. I have only one memory of the 20-plus Kiss shows I've seen over the years that have actual on-stage dissension during the show. It was February 1983 at the barely half-full Cobo Hall show, which was actually going quite well until Vinnie played his solo that, sure enough, went so impossibly long that Gene finally came out, leaned back against the tank turret, and literally crossed his arms and dragon boots. A moment that will live forever in my mind because Gene was absolutely right. The mindless mosquito noodlings had gone on far too long. And I agree with Zeus in placing Vinnie in the proper context of his impact on Kiss. He did not save Kiss. But conversely, I agree with Tom's ranking of Vinnie in the Kiss member hierarchy. No replacement member can be ranked higher than the original band members unless longevity and impact fully warrant it. And I thought about this question quite a bit. Here are 3 people who, in my opinion, truly saved their bands. Steve Perry saved Journey, yes. Ronnie James Dio saved Black Sabbath, yes. And Brian Johnson saved AC/DC, yes. What do all 3 of those have in common? They're lead vocalists. Of course they're going to save their respective bands. Zeus, any thoughts on that email right there?
You know, I used to wear little shorts on the job and whatnot.
I think that's what saved Kiss with Vinnie.
Jesus Christ. All right, one more email here from our good friend Adam Nierenberg. Good episode. My wife and I were listening to it this morning. Oh, geez, Adam, don't do that to your poor, lovely wife. She usually knows a lot of deep information, which is why she's a keeper. I turned to her in amazement when I said that he was a staff songwriter for Happy Days and Joni Loves Chachi. My wife did not know this. This shows that you have the ability to give knowledge that I took for granted, thinking it was commonplace. Did Vinnie save Kiss? This has been a question posed to the entire Kiss fandom for years now. When I was 15 and he joined during Creatures and seeing him with the band on the Lick It Up tour in 1984, I would have said, fuck yeah. Later in life, I found that kind of hyper-shredding doesn't age well. While I also agree that Vinnie's contributions are important and noteworthy, he did not save Kiss. Taking off the makeup saved them. I will also agree that Vinnie's contributions to the band make him the most influential member outside of the original 4. And I will also add that Bruce was the secret weapon of the band, bridging the gap between the 70s era by delivering the classic-type solos while bringing a modern sound to the 80s, even detuning and playing more aggressively in the 90s. Thanks again for teaching the fandom new information and making us think about a topic that has many sides and dimensions in a fun and humorous way, and not in a tool and sandwich-eating manner, which is why you are the #1 best Kiss podcast. Well, Adam, that's quite amazing, my friend, and thank you for those kind words. And that's why you're one of our favorite listeners and supporters. Appreciate that very much, Adam. Thank you, my friend. Zeus, let's throw it back to you.
Right.
So we're going to go back to Facebook and the great Jason Warden. One thing that separates Shout Out Loudcast from other podcasts is that you guys don't only have big-time guests like rock stars and celebrity fans, but you also go back to your roots and what made you guys number one, which is what you did this week. No glitz, no glamour, just diving into the polarizing yet talented Vinnie Vincent. Many great points, and I always wonder what would have happened if he was a team player like Bruce. How many more lick it ups and unholies would he have had? 80s Kiss may have been bigger. Who knows? Well, Jason, because you actually picked apart the topic and noticed that we do switch things up and always try to make things interesting for you guys, and you asked an interesting question about if he did stay, how much bigger would Kiss have been in the 80s? And because you're just fucking awesome, Jason, and we always love you and appreciate your contributions to the show, buddy, you, my friend, are the comment of the week.
Good answer. Good answer. I like the way you think. I'm going to be watching you.
Great stuff, buddy, as always, Jason. Always appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I do believe last week, I think we were number 74, I think, and episodes for the week in music on Apple Podcasts in the United States.
Nice.
So
sweet.
Amazing feat done, and thankful to you, the listeners, Loudcasters. So we send our gratitude and thank you to you. In addition to you, we're going to send some actual gratitude and thank yous to our Patreon family. Patreon family, well over 100 of you. Thank you. We appreciate you so much. We love the Patreon relationship that we have with all the members. You guys get perks from us. You get merch. You get involvement in the show. You get the ARC pick. You get polls. You get the video calls. You get a ton of stuff. So thank you for your support, which is greatly appreciated and helps us out a ton. So if you want to help the show and you want to see us continue to grow, please go to our website, and we want to give a special shout out. Thank you to Courtney, our web designer. She made a couple modifications. Check it out to our website. And please, once you get onto the website at shoutitoutloudcast.com,
go to him.
You will see the Patreon link right there. Click on that. Find the one of 4 different monetary tiers. Pick one that suits your needs and join the Patreon family. You're helping us tremendously, and we really appreciate it. And thank you to our Patreon family.
Guys, you're the best. Thank you so much for all of your support. It's incredible. We love to see the Patreon family continue to grow, and we're just eternally grateful for everything you do. So please, like Zeus said, check it out. Visit our new designed website. A little bit of an update, a little bit of a fresh look there. So check that out and click right on the Patreon link and find out what it's all about and join the family.
Tom, what we do next is we go to Kiss World. What's going on there?
Not much. There's some new merch. We're recording on April 23rd. April 22nd was Earth Day. So Kiss is selling a vintage camo jacket. It says one of a kind, built from the past, made for now. It's made from like a 100% post-consumer materials. It's sustainable, blah, 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 blah. It's one of those things. It looks cool, but what are you ever going to do with this? Ever. What are you going to do with this? It's a camo jacket. It's got the Kiss Army logo on the back. I don't know. I don't know. I know I don't, we beat a dead horse with like, what are they doing? I don't understand. I mean, I know if people are going to say, if you don't like it, you don't have to buy it. Great. I won't, but I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. This isn't really news per se, but today, and I'm sure it'll be released as an episode on his podcast, because Eddie Trunk on his show, usually when he has interviews, he releases them as a separate podcast. He had our buddy Chris Jericho on today. They, of course, were talking about the Kiss thing in Vegas. Eddie had an interesting theory that I feel stupid for not thinking of this beforehand, because they were talking about pretty much like what's in it for KISS to do this thing in Vegas, like why are they doing it, and he said that he doesn't. This is his theory. Interested to see what you think, Zeus. His theory is that this was probably part of the Pop House deal. Pop House probably said, if we're going to spend all this money and buy your catalog, you have to do a few things a year to keep the KISS name alive, active, current, and in the forefront. And this is probably one of those things.
Our guest coming up has some interesting thoughts on this.
Very true.
Some were on the record and some were off the record.
Correct.
Yeah, I honestly believe that they're employees now. They got to do certain shit.
Exactly.
And I can totally picture that they're held to something that they have to do. And it's not exactly, hey, you want to make this kind of fucking money? And I'm sure they're getting paid for the services in addition to that.
Sure.
Right. And they're like, fuck it. I don't have a problem with it. Instead of getting on a ship, we'll go to Vegas for a couple of days.
Yeah, because they have to do something to keep the KISS name afloat, right? You can't just go away into obscurity. So they got to do something. But yeah, kind of quiet. Nothing new has been added to the KISS Army Storms Vegas thing. The posting that you saw a couple weeks ago, that's the latest that we have there. So nothing really new. In terms of the band, nothing really new. I know the Unmasked anniversary is in a few weeks, so people kind of have their radar up for more colored swirled vinyl and unmasked Shiso European jackets. I don't know what the fuck they're going to sell. Who knows? But we'll find out soon.
Oh, that would be horrendous. I know Gene did Mike Rowe's podcast. He did like fucking an 8-hour podcast with what's his name there?
Rick Rubin. Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
I know that it was an occurrence. And then Tommy like kind of clarified something that everybody was kind of wondering. He's like, I guess that baby he's walking around with is his.
Yeah,
and
what
his
the
girlfriend.
fuck?
I didn't know if that photo, that hot chick was his daughter or his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And that's his grandchild. I don't know what the fuck was going on. But apparently that's his kid.
Yeah.
So
God bless him.
God bless him is all right. So it is what it is. But other than that, let's take a quick little break.
I'm hearing shit in the background. What is that? Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
All right, I guess we're back. So, Tom, we're going to bring in the great Brian Tichy. I know you guys will enjoy this. And here it is.
So this week we're excited to have one of the great rock drummers right now who has played with some of the best. Played with Ozzy, Whitesnake, Queensryche, and Jeff Tate. You name it, he's played with them. But we have him here to talk specifically about the work that he's done with Ace Frehley and his time in the Gene Simmons Band. Let's welcome to the show for the very first time the great Brian Tishi. Brian, welcome to the show, buddy.
Wow, very, very impressive introduction there. Thank you very much.
Hey, you have an impressive career. We got to give you all your kudos, so welcome.
It's not just, I was like, you said Ace Frehley. I'm like, oh, wait, there's a couple things. And Gene, of course, currently. But let's not forget that my whole damn experience as a drummer started by playing the KISS records.
That's right.
That's it. That's the beginning. That's before Zeppelin and Van Halen and, Sabbath, Ozzy, AC/DC, blah, 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 Rush. Started with KISS all at the same time. So that makes playing with Gene is very special just because it really started with the KISS records, the KISS posters, the makeup, the characters, but the tunes and Peter Criss's drumming, which means a lot to me. That was my first rock and roll drum teacher, like for real. That's what I did incessantly. It for 2 or 3 years before I started getting other records. It was like save enough money up to get a KISS record, and look at the covers, which one's next, But that was all when I was like in the 3rd grade. I was like 8 years old, So it wasn't like I was, there was no internet. It wasn't like I was hanging around with a bunch of friends, trading tapes or listening to the records. I'm an 8-year-old kid. So it was just a couple friends had a couple KISS records, and I went over their house, and they had a snare drum in front of their stereo with a cymbal, and we all took turns keeping time to a song off to Destroyer. And that's the beginning. And soon after, I was obsessed with drums at the time, and still am at this point. But yeah, that was it. It started playing to Kiss records, which I'm really glad it started that way, because I love the old Kiss stuff, that 70s Kiss. I the production, the songs, Peter's drumming, Kiss Alive, Peter's drum solo. I mean, still I think is. I mean, my favorite drum solo of all time is Neil Peart's off of Exit Stage Left and YYZ. Yes. But I'd say pound for pound, as far as a drum solo, not technique or chops, just a solo featuring the drummer on his drums. I think 100,000 Years on Kiss Alive is one of the most exciting ever. You know?
Love it. Yeah. And like you said, what a full circle moment for you to grow up, listen to those Kiss records, play with your friends, snare drum and cymbal, and now you're playing those songs for real with Gene on stage standing in front of you. I mean, like that's the stuff that that's like a rock and roll fantasy camp type of moment, right?
Yeah, it is. And he this is nothing new to him. There's Kiss fans everywhere around the world, and he gets bombarded all the time by, Kiss fans wanting to let him know that they're Kiss fans. But I think it's nice in his band. He's that Brent Woods, his MD and guitar player, and myself grew up like hardcore Kiss, dressing up like Peter or Ace, and for Halloween and all that stuff. And so he's got a couple serious fans in his band, which I don't think hurts in the big picture.
Of course.
Yeah, we had the luxury of meeting Brent when Gene had his Vegas experience. He's buddies with Eddie Trunk, so Eddie. We met up with him the night before, and he's like, come down. My buddy Brent's going to be there. And we thought it was going to be Fitzy, and it was Woods. And he's got a real dry sense of humor, and he's a kind of a funny guy, great guitarist. And he, like, when they did that little band for that Vegas event, and Brent like blew us away. He was fantastic.
Incredible. Yeah. Incredible.
But, Gene had at the time, I think, Eric Singer. And was it Fitzy, the other drummer? Who was the other drummer?
Yep.
Yeah, and he had Todd and stuff, the usual suspects. And now this time around, he has yourself. And as we asked you off the air to clarify this, because a lot of Kiss fans keep seeing this, as I said to you, I just looked online because you're coming close to us, which is Mohegan Sun. Mohegan Sun even has our buddy Zach as advertised. So who is actually in the band? And you want to clarify this for everybody?
Yeah, well, you mean Zach Throne.
Correct. Zach Throne, yes.
The great Zach Throne.
Isn't he out with
he's out with Jerry Cantrell.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
So there's, for anybody who's noticed, there's been confusion because the first thing that was put out over a year ago included his name, and it was inaccurate. He did come down and play, and I think at the time he was in another band as well. Maybe the Slipknot singers.
Story Taylor's.
He was Story Taylor's band.
Yeah, so he was. But anyways, because he had jammed with Brent and Gene before, we needed somebody that could sing a certain way, play guitar, play lead, rhythm, blah blah blah, and sing. So Brent and Zach are friends, so Brent brought it up to him. But we, can't just have one guy and think that's it. Of
course,
it might only, at the time it was Gene was about to book one show, one festival in Sao Paulo, and that's all it was. So that's how it all started. It was January of 24, and Brent said, "Hey, are you available at the end of April for this one-off?" And I said, "Yeah, well, who is it?" He goes, "Yeah, for Gene Simmons." I go, "Yeah, that'd be amazing. That'd be awesome." So he said, "Well, we need to find another guy, a guitar-playing singer." Cool. Well, let's think about it. So a week went by or so, and I said, "Well, whether we find somebody or not, can we at least get in a room with Gene with me so we can play through some songs? And I'd rather not assume I'm in, and then we get in a room and he's like, I don't like this guy. I don't like his drumming. I don't like his look. I don't like his attitude. I don't like anything about him. Get him out. I don't want to walk around thinking that I can do this." So Brent's like, "Yeah, let's do that." Well, it worked out that Zach was available to come in and jam with us, as was I had thought of another guy in Vegas, Jason Walker. His band had opened up for my Zeppelin cover band in Vegas, and I just was trying to think about guys, and his, this image of him popped in my head. I was like, I remember watching him sing like Deep Purple's "Child in Time" and doing the solos. I was like, I remember him being kick ass. We found his number, called him up, and it ended up Zach and Jason both could come in and jam that same day. So that following week or whatever, they both came in and played. I think what happened was Gene ended up choosing Jason Walker, and both guys were great. It's just you have to make a choice, right?
Yeah.
So Gene goes and confirms the festival like the next day. It tells, okay, Jason, you're in. So we have a band. Okay, there you go. It's just, like I said, one show. He confirms it, but somewhere in the internet and people talking, and maybe from the rehearsal place we're at, we don't know where it came from, but somebody said, oh, and I think somebody may have seen us at the rehearsal room because we're at this little place in like Burbank or something. And, I remember this one person in another band came in and said, please sign my drummer's bass drum head to Gene's. Gene's at this little rehearsal place. Mm-hmm. We're going to take notice. I think, word spread somehow from Gene was here with this guy, and maybe somebody goes, it was, Brian Tishi and Brett Woods and Zach Throne. And maybe those are the names he gave out, because all of a sudden it's on the internet, it says Gene Simmons announces first post KISS show, right? Yeah. This festival. And the band is, and it had Zach there. And A, that sucks for Jason. B, it sucks for Zach, because then people are going, oh, Zach, you're playing with Gene. That's cool.
Yeah, we texted him. Yeah. And he's like, no, but thanks for asking.
Yeah. And that's a bummer from both sides,
Sure.
And even since then, Gene, I think earlier this year, somewhere in the past months, did put out a proper announcement of tour dates and included the band with Jason Walker on guitar and vocals. But because what happens on the internet, as we see all the time, the first thing that goes out is the first thing that everybody still goes to. So that's why you're still seeing Zach's name mentioned in current shows. And, so it like I said, it sucks because I'm sure somebody's still going, hey, Zach, you're coming to Mohegan Sun.
Right.
No, I'm out. It's Jerry.
Exactly.
Right.
So, but I got it. But on that note, Jason Walker is in the band. He did all the stuff we did last year because that one show turned into a couple one-offs and a run in Europe, which was a lot of fun. And it's continuing into what we're doing coming up in May, which includes Mohegan Sun and a bunch of other shows throughout May with myself, Brent, Gene, and Jason Walker. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's that. Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
So I want to jump in first because
go ahead.
You were kind enough to jump in for our book, Raise Your Glasses. And I love it. The songs that you picked are all early songs.
Yes.
And I know from videos I've seen of yours, and you're wearing Peter Criss stuff. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Peter, even though you work with Gene, may have been your favorite member growing up.
Well, yeah, it was a total drummer thing. Yeah. But that was the awesome thing about KISS is you kind of had to think about it. Well, wait, you got the demon guy. That's awesome. Yeah. You got the guy with the star. He's like that. He's the frontman rock star. Everybody had a personality and a character, and you don't get that much with rock bands where each guy is almost equal, and they're all singing lead ultimately. By the time Shock Me came out, but. Yeah, I was a Peter Criss guy, first and foremost. But I do remember, and I could never find the picture, the first makeup, when I first got makeup, the first makeup I put on was I tried to do the star because I was figured, that's the easiest. And I have a picture of myself, taking a picture of myself in a mirror, like pointing, like puckering up and stuff. But I have pictures of me as Peter, but not that one of being Paul. Oh, and I think I did Ace at one point, somewhere when I got older. My kids around Halloween.
Did you do Ace impressions too? Oh shit!
No, but those are some of those videos I've watched. Those YouTube videos of like Ace's laugh or the funniest Ace.
Oh god,
yeah, it's great stuff. Yeah,
classic.
And on I mean, I could go for hours and hours with you guys on KISS stuff But as far as those songs, I don't remember what I put. But yeah, the book is great, and thanks for including me.
Thank you.
I did put time into thinking about it. There's definitely guaranteed go-tos that I know right out the gate. Oh, these songs always stood out. Like Parasite. As soon as you hear that riff,
perfect. You said that.
Yeah,
that's like just. There's so many great songs from back then, and being such a '70s Kiss fan, and you grow up by the time you're in your teens and in the '80s, you're just exposed to so many other kinds of music and other bands. And Kiss changed, and in the '80s was the '80s, so everything took the makeup off and the style and the production, everything changed. So I'm really a diehard '70s guy as far as Kiss goes, but yeah, there was. I have many memories of, because this was such a first exposure to like just buying rock records. It started with Kiss. So the first time you turn on Kiss Alive, it just sounds so loud. It's like, wow. And my first concert was 1979 at Madison Square Garden Dynasty. My dad.
Dynasty tour.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I got, and I was 11, and that I had never walked into an arena to see a rock show. And I think the band, it was either New England or Nantucket. I believe it was New England was opening up, and I couldn't believe the sound of Rock Band in an arena. It just didn't sound like it was possible to have that really happen around you.
Right.
I thought that would be something you only get on a record. And I walked into Madison Square Garden, and I looked down, and I see that drummer hitting the snare drum, and I was like, "This is." All I know is my little drum set at my house and records I played with. Just experience this was just so much. That was just so overwhelming and amazing. But so yeah, I saw Kiss then, and but yeah, those songs that I chose, like I said, I don't remember exactly which ones, but they're all steeped in the '70s era, and I think Parasite. That's just, I still talked about it with Brent. Like as soon as that riff kicks in, it's like perfect riff. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Like it makes total sense. Like Walk This Way makes sense. It's like that. As soon as you hear it, you go. Or this first time you hear The Ocean from Zeppelin, you go, wham, wham, man, now. You go, here they go, butter-dam. What are they going to do? And you're like, that's exactly what it should have done. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those riffs, and the verse, the chorus kills, the jam in the middle, the break, everything about it, top to bottom. So. Yeah.
While you brought that up, I just wanted to add this one little part, because I have your notes up here from the songs that you wrote, and you wrote with Parasite about Gene killing the vocal, Ace is great, and this and that. But you put this part in, and I love getting a drummer's perspective because, Peter gets knocked around a lot. And I love when real drummers, because when real drummers like yourself, Charlie Benante, and others have been on our show, they explain like the aspect of Peter Criss that a lot of people don't get. And you write this. This is a perfect example of Peter not playing like a hard rock metal drummer. He gives us this boogaloo swing that gives Kiss its unique groove and swagger. Yep. So as a drummer, can you explain what Peter does and what you like about him in the early '70s albums?
Well, the boogaloo thing, like that's like that kind of stuff. But there's little ghosts in there. Calling Dr. Love is a little bit of a boogaloo vibe, which has ghost notes. The notes in between the accented notes on the snare drum. Yep. But if Parasite, for what it's when you hear that riff, it's funky, it's groovy. But maybe in a hard rock band or with hard rock drummers, you may hear it be played more like think of like something off of, I don't know, like Tommy Lee, Shout the Devil kind of thing. You could see that style of drumming, like
exactly.
Looks to Kill. That would totally work. It would totally work, but that's not Peter's thing. It's and the drum break in the middle. It's just great, and it creates a danciness to something that could be really heavy.
Yep.
And closed hi-hats as opposed to smashing open hi-hats. Smash, smash, goosh, goosh, goosh. You get this and it just creates a whole different vibe than what you might hear from a lot of other drummers. And I think that's a standout thing. And Peter does have like boogaloo. It's sort of funky, but it's just this almost 60s dancey thing, like even James Brownish, there's that that part of Peter's playing personality that's always in there. And there's always a little bit of swing, you know, there just is. And you can't really explain swing, you know, it's not really a triplet, and it's not really straight. It's like right in between, like old school rock, like old, you know, Chuck Berry, just all the way, that's where Peter grew up with that, or Gene Krupa, you know, you hear a yes. It's not exactly perfect triplets, but it's like dancey and jumpy, you know?
Yeah.
And Peter has that in his playing, and that comes through in all the Kiss records, you know?
Yeah. And I think one for I know for people, for us, I'm a drum guy. I wish I knew how to play the drums, but ever since I was a little kid, I had a Muppets drum set that I broke because I played it so hard listening to Kiss records when I was a little kid. But I think it's almost like reverse, you know, theory here. I think one of the best ways, like you said, Brian, to explain what Peter does is to listen to those 70s songs when they're being played by like Eric Carr or Eric Singer, and those guys are obviously great, but they turn those songs into what you were saying, but they turn them into hard rock / metal songs because those are the kinds of drummers that they are. And I think for me, that's how it's like, shit, Peter really did bring something incredibly unique to this band that they needed at that time.
Yeah, it feels.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I've heard, you know, or read, you know, Paul Stanley say that, you know, they want when Peter wasn't in the band anymore, they wanted somebody heavier, or their sound of their records. They're like, well, we want something like, you know, heavier like Led Zeppelin, but we're never going to get that because Peter's not John Bonham. Okay, Bonham's my favorite drummer. Peter's my first favorite drummer, and they're different, and they bring different things to different bands. You know, Charlie Watts with the Stones might not work as well with Queen, and you know, Cozy with the Rainbow might not work as well with, you know, some other band, you know, but it worked for Kiss. I don't want to hear it any other way. That's how I want to hear it. I want to hear Love Her All I Can with that boogaloo feel and that the cowbell. Like, that's a Peter thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In playing these older songs with Gene, it is easy to overpower the songs because as a kid they were so heavy, and you know, Kiss Alive, and I used to crank my records up as loud as they go and play with my headphones on, you know, play the drums to the records. So everything was just loud, and when I play, and that's kind of how I am as a drummer. It's just like it's a fun release of energy, and so it's easy to get swept up in those songs and play them maybe a little too heavy-handed. But you look at Peter back in the 70s when he was really throwing down. He wasn't hitting lightly; he was digging in, but he had his touch. You know, he had his way of playing. So I try to not forget that. You know, when I'm playing these songs,
right?
But I wouldn't want to play these too bombastically as far as changing the basic idea of where it came from. You know, where it came from as far as Peter's parts and style, because I think that's what makes those songs awesome. You know, it's like it's like Gene always does a lot of movement, a lot of walking on the bass lines, and you know, like Cold Gin, he doesn't follow the Cold Gin riff. He's playing his own bit under that. But man, I don't want to hear a simpler ride one string bass style with Kiss. I want to hear the way Gene played it. That's what made it.
Yes,
you know.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
Made it unique. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, do you have a favorite Kiss song and perhaps a favorite deep cut as well?
Favorite deep cut, Larger Than Life. Bam.
Wow. Of course, as a drummer,
Really?
why not? Why not?
Well, yeah, but I love the song, the post-chorus. After they get to the chorus and they bring it down.
Yep.
Too much to hold. It can't be sold. Whoa, no. Like that little bit there. When they came out of the my love is larger than life. Larger than life. My love is too much to hold. And they break. Oh, man. And the riff is killer. Yeah, the production, you know, the whole, it's not Peter because the drums sound big and like Bonham. It's Eddie Kramer, man. Peter's snare is ungodly. That tone.
So you believe that's Peter?
Totally, it's Peter. That's the same snare drum that's on Kiss Live 2, sides 1 and 3.
I'll take your word.
It's the same snare drum that's on Christine and Shock Me and many tracks on Love Gun. It's the same. Yes, that's his tuning. That's the way he hits. That's it. Done deal. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
How about Bob on that solo?
Love it. Love it.
All right. Awesome. So are you going to get Gene to play it on the tour?
Hey, if I could get Gene to do things, that would be really cool.
Do you have stuff that you were like, Gene, if you had a choice and you could create the set list, any stuff that you would want to add?
Well, yeah. Well, I'd put Larger Than Life in there. I'd put, I Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. I put in,
Yes, like, that's a great tune.
There's a whole bunch of stuff I'd put in, but it's for one thing, we're about to go into rehearsals in a few days and then start this run, but and there's a nice list of what we're going to work on. And in rehearsals, we do talk about everything. We did play through Larger Than Life once, or a chunk of it. We all love it, but some of it is a workload for Gene. Like, okay, does he remember all the lyrics? Is this something he's going to have to spend time on compared to some other stuff?
Right.
But my set list would have, it would be steeped in the 70s stuff, and I think it would fulfill just about all diehard Kiss fans' set lists, But and let's not exclude some stuff that I know people like Unholy and
absolutely.
And then there's some stuff on Creatures that's great. And I know that stuff on
Lick It Up, Not For the Innocent, shit like that.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff, and so, but that's not my. I don't walk in calling those shots,
we get it. But as a fan, like for us, we're looking at it. And I know Tom would have a heart attack if you guys came in and played "Got Love for Sale," things like that.
I love that. I love it. I would love to play that. You could name any Gene lead vocal song from Kiss from the first record up to whatever, Creatures or Lick It Up, and I'm like, I love it all, but like I said, it's there comes a point where you don't go, but why, or come on,
right.
Because
that's the Kiss fan in us being like, come on, Brian, push him. How many times have I been able to say, can we do Larger Than Life today? But why not? Why? Like you don't really want to be that guy.
No, Brian.
Absolutely not.
But he was saying to Brent, hey, maybe think of some covers, and Brent had thought, it'd be pretty cool if Gene sang what do you call it?
Ace of Spades?
And that was the intent. The intent was, Brent suggested, that was just one of many suggestions. And we got in a rehearsal and learned it, showed Gene. Gene learned the song.
Yeah. But who sang it?
And then we took a break and he goes, Brian, would you like to, do you think you could sing that? And I go, I could try it. He goes, I don't know the words, but I could get them on, on my phone, whatever. He goes, let's do it. Let's try it. So we started playing and I sang it. And then he goes, all right, you should. And he never sang it. He just goes, you should do this live. So that's what it became.
Awesome.
It wasn't, but the goal wasn't for me to sing that song. It was because we thought Lemmy's got that kind of, his voice is so distinct.
Yes.
As Gene's is, and they're both very powerful and aggressive voices. We figured a Gene version of
that's his buddy too.
Yeah, totally.
That was his buddy.
Yeah.
So at least we play it, and I'm happy to sing it. It's a lot of fun to be able to get that that little chunk of the show where I'm singing lead on a song with my idol over there supporting me on bass guitar. Hey.
Yeah, amazing. So I want to at the intro I mentioned Ace Frehley, and you played on a track on Ace's Anomaly album. You did drums on his cover of Fox on the Run.
Yeah.
Tell us how did you become part of that project, and how did that work? And did you work with Ace, or did you just cut the drums and then was it?
I was doing the drum. I was tracking drums for the Foreigner record, the last one they released. Ooh, oh my goodness! I just saw the name of it. It just like I think it just was announced as a platinum selling record, and I'm like, great. Do I get like one of those platinum records? Can't slow down. So I was doing the drums with producer Marty Fredrickson, and I've done a lot with Marty over the years. So we finished tracking them, and he's done this with me before, which always ends up being a good thing. Marty's always got a lot of stuff going on. He goes, hey, Brian, I got this song I'm doing with Ace Frehley. I got to put drums to it. It's a cover of Fox on the Run. And he had a version, and I think it was either too slow or he either slowed it down or sped it up. He might have sped it up, and I was like, it sounds a little fast. Like, yeah, let's just get it back closer to the regular tempo. And that was it. He slowed it down, and I recorded the drums with him after. Like, this is after I finished all the Foreigner tracks.
Yep.
I was just sitting there with the drum set up. We're done. Because you want to do one more? And that was really it. I didn't know
really
it would end up on the record. I didn't know to what extent anything would happen with it after I tracked it, but it ended up in the record, which I was really happy to see my name on an Ace record. Yeah.
I mean, the drums sound great. I'll be honest with you, I do not like the original version of that song. I know people love it, but I love what you did on it. And of course, everybody who knows Ace loves his cover songs. He's working on Origins Volume 3 right now. He loves that. But yeah, I thought that was interesting when we were kind of looking at like your history with all the bands that you played, and I was like, shit, he's on one of Ace's albums. So I thought that was really cool.
I wish there was a better story to it, but
no, that's okay. That's a story in itself.
I mean, it would be a great story if there was a session and I went in and Ace was there and we talked through it and he was happy, but this was more the producer thing at the, in the moment, which also happened years later with Marty and another studio thing where I was doing a bunch of tracks for him over a couple days. We finished and he goes, oh, I have this drum track for an artist. Can we maybe throw this down? I go, yeah. And then he goes, I have this song I've done with Steven Tyler. It's got drum machine on it. Wow, we're set up. The drums are sounding good. Maybe we can hit that one. Yeah. He goes, well, wait, let me see. Steven's in town. This is like 2011. And he goes, Steven's in town. Let's like listen to the song and, just get in our heads and let me see if Steven can come tomorrow while you're here because, he's particular about drums. And I met him a long time ago, like opening up for Aerosmith with either Slash or Zach or something because I did, but I don't know Steven Tyler. Especially so he goes, yeah, come back. Steven's available. He's going to come tomorrow. He's going to hit this background vocal with this other woman he's singing with on something, and then we'll get into the drums. So I come back, and this is all because of Marty. This is like just Marty's making these nice experiences happening in my life.
That's awesome.
So Steven comes in, and we meet, and it's Marty and Steven behind the control room, the window, and there's me behind my drums, and I had prepared the song. Like it was a pretty simple. It actually ended up, it's the song he put out. It's only his only solo single called Feels So Good. When he put his book out, he put a solo single out with it. And so it was released and, and then drums on it and all that stuff. But the first take we did, I'm like, what's going to happen here with, I know this is Aerosmith World. We're in Kiss podcast, so I'll make this.
No, it's okay.
No, it's all good. We like all types of rock.
Absolutely,
so Brian. I'm prepared on the parts I'm supposed to play. I play top to bottom.
Yep.
And then Marty and Steven keep rewinding the chorus, playing the original demo drums, and then putting my drums in. And I'm like, oh man, here we go. He's gonna say something about my feel, something about my groove, something's not right. This could get. This could be a bad experience. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking negatively. They went back and forth like 3 times, A being the chorus. And I'm like, he hears something he doesn't like. Whatever was on the demo. So he presses the talk back. He's like, yeah, Brian, you got some kind of snare drum with more of a ring to it, something that's a little more ringy. I was like, oh, he was only listening for the snare drum tone. I go, yeah, hold on. I run over and grab this other snare I had that I knew rang more. I put it up. And they recorded my second take, top to bottom. And then A beat again, like once. Yep. And then Marty goes, "Yeah, come on in, man." And I went in. Steven looked at me and said a very nice compliment about my drumming.
Awesome.
And that was it, and I was done.
Sweet.
So and they, Marty was like listening to my little bits and pieces here, and he looks at Steve and he goes, "Yeah, I think we got it. I think it's here."
That's awesome.
And that was it. So
very cool. Good.
So yeah,
Very cool.
So those are a couple different things with Marty. I end up on a track on an Ace record. I end up working with Steven in the studio, which was nice because it led to me playing live with him on a couple different occasions. Because of that experience.
Yeah,
but anyhow,
awesome.
yeah,
awesome.
But on that, let me ask you guys: you're Kiss freaks. I would assume, but I shouldn't totally assume that you may be aware. Not only did I play on Ace's that Fox on the Run on his solo record, but I did cover an Ace song on a tribute record a long time ago. Are you guys aware of this tribute record?
Is it the Spacewalk album?
No, it's called Return of the Comet.
Yes. Okay.
Oh,
Yes. Okay.
Yep. We know that.
Yep. And what song?
I did Rip It Out on that.
That's right.
That was I did it. That was like way back in 1997.
Yep.
Somebody asked me to do it and gave me a little budget. I went in the studio and did drums, bass, guitar, vocals in like 8 hours, and I got and we mixed it. That was it, all that done. But it was my first time, and I absolutely love Ace's solo record. That 78 solo record, top to bottom. I think there's every note. I love every song, everything about it. Willie, Anton, Eddie Kramer, Ace, the lyrics, the vocals, the melodies, the riffs, the production, everything about it. And to come out with Rip It Out first, I was like, I remember putting that on at my buddy's house because his parents would buy him everything he wanted, a Kiss. So he had every Kiss poster. He had every Kiss record. He had all the magazines. He had the tour books. So you go into his room and it was like Kiss everywhere. So he got all 4 records together where I don't remember, maybe I got Peter's first.
Yeah.
But anyways, I went and we put on Rip It Out, and I was just like, "Oh my god!"
I mean, as a drummer, that's the song you want to play. Rip It Out.
It's Anton is brilliant. The drum break is brilliant. So I put time into really trying to replicate that, and I was also really that was my first time ever singing in a studio. Singing for real. So but I thought it came out pretty cool. But I did put. It wasn't like a last minute, come in and do this. I was sitting there on my 4-track at the time. I had this little crappy cassette 4-track, and I was doing my own demo, like working it up so when I go in the studio, I can do it, do it better.
Yeah, there's a couple other artists on that with you. LA Guns, it looks like, Presidents of the United States.
I remember
Eric
that one.
Singer, Gilby Clarke, Bruce. Yeah, you got a bunch of people on them. That's great. That's fantastic. Now, do you have a favorite Kiss record that's your go-to?
Well, I guess, I'd say Alive because there's so many great songs and it sounds so great and the versions are astounding. But
so you're on Alive over Alive 2.
But I love Alive 2.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. But what I noticed when I was a kid, when I got Alive 2, I was like, Kiss is even bigger now because the audience is louder. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I was like, the audience is even crazier now. It's 3 years later because they're even bigger. They're just more popular. There's more people screaming for Kiss. They can't believe they're at a Kiss show. Where really they just made sure the audience was louder. But I love Alive too. But no, I think Alive 1 I probably would have to. But then you got side 4 of Alive 2, which is just.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah.
But as far as studio records, I would probably go with Rock and Roll Over. Yeah.
That is the most.
Go ahead.
Every time we have a guest on, Brian, we ask them a couple of these questions. I would probably say it's upwards of 70, 80, maybe even more. They all say Rock and Roll Over. It's incredible. And it's a great album. So, but
pound for pound, the songs are great.
Yeah.
Whereas like Love Gun has a lot of great stuff, but what's the last song on side 1?
Then She Kissed Me.
Then She Kissed Me. It's just, I
want to hear what you say about Destroyer.
No, Destroyers is great. It really is top to bottom great. Every song is great. Like Flaming Youth, killer, Sweet Pain.
Yep.
Shout Out Loud. Do You Love Me? Like top to bottom. That's a great record. I think for me, I like the more raw production of Rock and Roll.
Exactly.
Over. It's just a little harder sounding.
It's a little grittier.
Little tougher sounding.
Yeah.
Peter's drums are a little more up front. They're not as washed in reverb. which affects the impact of that, of the groove, you know. Whereas I don't know if I'd want to hear most of Destroyer recorded another way, because the production of that record does make it its own thing.
Yeah.
But imagine, you know, I don't know, you know, one of those songs with a rock and roll over production. It might have a little more, you know, that little more raunchy rawness to it might be pretty cool, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think they did a good job with it. Like, they wanted to get back to basics on Rock and Roll Over,
and they did.
And they didn't stray too far on Love Gun. Like, yo, Shock Me, Got Love for Sale, I Stole Your Love, Christine, Love Gun, almost like these sound great. Those sound there's, you know, they're closer to Rock and Roll Over than they are production wise to Destroyer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, they're both Eddie Kramer, so we always play the game of what if Eddie Kramer did Destroyer and Ezrin did Rock and Roll Over? Which would be better and which would get worse?
But the difference would be you wouldn't have the benefits of Ezrin, what he brought to the table.
Yep.
With even writing the middle section, the musical part of Detroit Rock City. And I wonder how much of he had to do with Great Expectations. You know, he was adding a lot of colors, whereas Eddie Kramer's a god, and he's proved it time and time again. And what he did I think he did what he should have done with Rock and Roll Over, and I think they achieved what they were trying to achieve. But they might have missed out on some of that extra special sauce that Bob Ezrin brought them for. You know, on Destroyer. But I think if you flipped it, like what could you have done? He might have made Hard Luck Woman way more grandiose, like Great Expectations, or
more piano or something. Strings,
stuff, which would have been killer. But man, I love Hard Luck Woman as it is. You know, I don't want to really hear that.
Help me out on this. Hard Luck Woman. There's like different versions of it. I like the double platinum version better, where the drums don't come in until the second verse. I think
they come in at there's a second bar and they come in. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. I like it right in where it is on Rock and Roll Over. They even changed the arrangement a bit on. Don't they change it a little bit on Alive too? Isn't there something different about it? It's something arrangement wise. Or maybe I'm mixing that up with double platinum, because I haven't heard the double platinum version in a long time.
I like that version, and also, and this was done by what's his name there, Sean Delaney produced that, and he kept talking about like I had to take all these songs and put it on an album, but the production on Destroyer is completely different, so I couldn't get the sounds to match. You'd be changing the volume on your controller every time, and he was talking about that, and then he changed Calling Dr. Love, which I like better on double platinum too, with that build up.
It's almost like a haunting. Well, it's almost like a fade in before you hear that first opening crunch.
Yeah.
That's all it is. He just added a fade.
And then at the second, after the guitar, it comes in just drums, I think. And then you just hear the backing vocals, Dr. Love.
Yeah.
And you just hear the drums, Dr. Love. And it's not Peter, Gene saying, hey, call me.
It's just the backing.
I love all the versions, even on Smashes, Thrashes. If you listen to all three, there's different versions of it, and you can take little pieces of each one of them and make a great Calling Dr. Love. But I love that variety that you get from certain songs.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I'm diehard rock and roll over versions. I do remember as a kid the like Strutter 78 was a little different.
Yes, I love that. Yeah,
you know,
I love that.
But I like the changes they made on Alive to some of the songs compared to the studio versions. Like, you know, and the tempo is a little more up.
Oh yeah,
you know, But so I'm while I do I love the studio versions of the Kiss Alive songs. I prefer just about all the Kiss Alive versions to the studio versions. You know,
Brian, I got one last thing from me. I kind of want to circle back because I brought up earlier Eric Carr and Eric Singer. So you're a drummer, so I want to hear it from you. They all do things. They're all great. They all do things differently. In your opinion, what do you think Eric Carr brings to the table? What does Eric Singer bring to the table? And when they play music that's out of their eras, so for example, if you hear Eric Singer playing Deuce, or if you hear Eric Carr playing Strutter, like what do they do that kind of makes them who they are, in your opinion, as a drummer that you are?
Well, I think Eric Carr came in, first of all, with the double bass kit. So it was still, Peter had the big semicircle of toms, as did Eric Carr. But just the double bass became more of like a little bit of a statement. Like you're going to hear some double bass, you know, which also gives you a little bit more of a metal side of what the drummer's going to be, which was totally cool, because at the time, what was the first record? Wasn't it Elder? The first Eric Carr?
Yeah, his first official record was Elder.
Right, and there's double bass, I think, on the opening track, if I remember correctly. But I thought they wanted Eric to be different than Peter, They wanted a more heavy-handed drummer, and just more heavy-handed, I guess, in just that style. But I've recently talked about it, like recording drums on my own in my studio here, which is basically my living room. It's like I got a pretty big vaulted ceiling, so I always go for big bombastic sounds. Not always, but a lot of the times it's fun to just try and capture big drums. And man, it's hard to find bigger drums, organic. I'm talking organically recorded drums than Bonham, of course. Levy Breaks. There's a couple other Bonhams, but you got to go right to Eric Carr on Creatures.
Yep.
Like, seriously, find me a bigger, organic, naturally recorded drum sound. That's just insanely massive, and it sounds great. Yep. So while he might have been, his hands may have been tied a little bit stylistically on the Elder, but I still think I think the Elder's cool. I dug it as a kid. I liked that they went for different things. I liked I can't remember all the names of all the songs right now, but I loved Dark Light. I thought that was great, and I thought there was,
The Oath.
The Oath.
Like these. There's some great stuff.
Heavy song.
But I think Eric got to play his ass off on that record. But what people thought of Kiss, that wasn't, right? So you get to Creatures, and all of a sudden you have this, whoa, what's going on here? And to this day, I'm serious, man. He should have been proud through the rest of his life to put those drums on and be like, this is what I got.
Yep.
At this period of my life in Kiss, we got this sound, because it's massive, and there's not many other records. You'd have to go to like Cozy on Stargazer. Maybe some, I know Phil Collins was doing gated reverb and all that stuff, but he was going for big drums, and outside of the gating side, he was getting really big sounds. Yeah. But I think Eric was, now he's joining Kiss. Kiss is a massive band. He's new. He's never done this before. So imagine being put in that position. Whereas Peter came up with Kiss. Like it's a whole different world, a different way of entering into a band, So I think he gave them what they wanted through the 80s. I think he did a great job, and he has tons of fans around the world, and also singing, great vocals, as is Eric Singer. They all had that raspy quality, which is great because Peter it's effortlessly killer singer with his own tone. It's so
absolutely loving Peter.
He just opens his mouth, and it's like Rod Stewart, Bob Seger stuff. It's just like, wow, man. With an amazing scream, so to be a drummer in Kiss and follow not only the original drummer's drumming, but but his vocals. Come on, that's a tall order. But I think Eric Carr was great for his time, and I think when Eric Singer came in, he gave you kind of like the best of both worlds. He's singing, he's playing the old Kiss, and I think. And Eric's a really good buddy of mine. I've known him for a really, really long time. But I think because you can't just look at it as drum style. You got to look, why is he playing what he plays at this time with Kiss? Did they say play just like Peter? No. I guarantee they said, don't play it just like Peter. And don't play it just like Eric. Give us a little bit of what you do mixed in with some of this and some of that. So you're hired in this position. It's very rare to come into a room like a John Bonham with a Plant, Jones, and Page into a room where there's no band yet and play as you play, and that becomes what the band is. Like, that's rare.
Yeah,
you know, especially when you're hired decades later. The band's been around for decades. Now you're going to come in and think you're just going to be you. No, but Eric does visually present, you know, and I know Kiss is visual, so the more he can that he can do visually, the better in Kiss compared to Steely Dan or something. You know, you want the show, and Eric's great at that. He's a great singer. He's also, as far as he and Tommy go, like Kiss has said it many times, like what they brought to the table was just guaranteed. You know, this is bigger than this. Isn't guys becoming, you know, rock stars in the 70s. This is a well-oiled machine, and this has been around for a long time. We need you guys. Hey, it's Gene and Paul. We need you on time. We don't need to screw around. We already dealt with that. We already dealt with drugs and alcohol and all that stuff that comes with the unknown of being four guys in New York that take over the world, right? You know, it's like nobody can predict. Yeah, we're all gonna keep a clear head about this in the 70s. We're millionaire rock stars. Like, dude, that's a freaking challenge alone. Like, that's what people don't talk about much. Like, oh, Ace and Peter with their drug problems, their egos. It's like, dude, you have everybody telling you you rule. Not everybody's built to just be like. Hey, Gene and Paul may have egos and stuff, but they remain sober through this, which is crazy. Like, they're around this crazy world of rock and roll in the 70s and the 80s. The amount of drugs going on, the amount of casualties of the in rock and roll, it's already a tall enough order. Outside of like Nugent, Zappa, Gene and Paul, it's like who else is sober? Like, that's crazy to be. It's almost crazier to be sober in a rock band in the 70s and 80s or at any time.
True.
To be sober. It's actually because look at what rock and roll and it's coming out of the 60s. Look at what the 70s. Look what the 60s made the 70s. It's like sound systems, recording technology, everything was improving. Audiences were getting bigger. Just everything was getting bigger. The business of rock and roll was getting bigger, and rock and roll's a party. You got to write great songs. You got to be on your game. Your fans got to be showing up and cheering. They got to buy your records. But it's a crazy world to be in. And I was driving a cab in New York. Now I have $1 million in the bank, and people are screaming absolutely crazy for me on every stage I get on the planet. Like, and I'm supposed to know how to handle this as a human being. That stuff's not normal. It's not normal to live a life and understand how it is to react to that. So more power to guys that have like a Gene and Paul, you know, that kept that thing together. They could have been those two. They could have been, you know, a la Steven Tyler and Joe Perry or something, where it just falls apart, or somebody actually dies because of it, you know. So like I said, more power to them because that's just crazy to keep all that together under those circumstances. But yeah, so now here you get Tommy and Eric in there. We're not messing around, guys.
They're professional.
You're going to have a great gig here, and you're going to get paid well, and you're going to have fun, and it's good. But you got a job to do, and we're not messing around. Like so, you know, you have to know how to play the game. You have to know how to make the people that brought you into their world happy. That's the first thing. Are Gene and Paul cool with you? If Gene's cool with you and Paul isn't, well, they might have some discussions. There might be a bit of a rub. There might, you know. Look at how long it lasted with Tommy and Eric. That's you got to give them big credit for lasting that long and not letting it, you know, because like I said, ego, drugs, alcohol, all that stuff can get the best of you, even if you're a hired gun. How many hired guns have we seen where they think they're all that, or that, you know what I mean? They get into a situation and all of a sudden they get some money and some fame and success or whatever, and you know, not everybody's built to handle that, you know.
Yeah.
Well, kudos to you, because you seem to be always someone that a lot of big artists want to go to. So you get a Whitesnake gig, you get a gig to play with Ozzy, you get a gig to play with Gene. That people, no. It's a kudos to you for your professionalism, and people know what they're getting from you.
Yeah, but that's really just because I'm so fucking handsome. That's really why.
Not that that works for me, but I'll take your word that you are. But that's great. But no, in all seriousness, man, your reputation speaks for itself, and that's why people are seeking you out. Gene doesn't fuck around. If Gene's picking you, he knows what he's getting. And I wanted to go back to one last thing about the tour with you guys doing.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking at like set list wise, is it going to expand on the song? Because the last few that we've, if you go to setlist.com and stuff, there's about like, anywhere from 12 to 15 type of songs. Is the set list going to get longer, or is it going to get about the same? How does this work?
Well, longer, I don't know if you do have to take length in. You have to factor that in, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, we're at 3 hours. Well, we probably don't want to do it. You have 3 hours. I think the average now, or the minimum, a contract is for is like an hour 15. But okay. I think we do an hour 30 to an hour 45 on the average.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which, yeah, I don't think we do an hour 15. That would come and go too quickly. So I'd say it's hour 30, hour 45. Gene, there's two sides. We have some jams, we have some covers, we have some fun. Gene will. The nice thing about this is he will change stuff up in the middle of a show. Like he will throw it. Hey, let's go for the song. Like we've done things like that, So we don't have a set list where it's like this is exactly how it's going to be guaranteed every night. He'll look at it and say, well, we try this one here and this one there. Why don't we put this one in?
That's fantastic.
That's always changing.
Yeah,
but
that's
with
cool.
That said, if he said, let's try this song, it's probably not going to be a song that we haven't discussed in rehearsal or was on the list to begin with, because that means he would have to prepare it. And if he's going to sit in his room and start trying to remember lyrics and singing and playing a song that we hadn't played in rehearsal, that's probably a tall order that's not going to happen for the tour that's coming up. But that's why in these 5 days, I have a list sitting here that's probably what we played last year, new covers, couple new songs, Kiss songs, and it's, I don't know, it's probably 20, 25 songs. Wow. We'll go through all of it. Like we did last year when we get together and rehearse, we play some songs that we never played live. But while that's going on and we're addressing all those songs, and because I've seen, it happens in rehearsal, we'll talk about something else. Just some song will be mentioned, and we'll go, well, let's come in tomorrow and let's see how that goes. And that could change everything up, and that could happen 2 or 3 times. So I can't say exactly what the set list is going to be. I'd say the big obvious ones, yeah, of course. The big, those are, there's some that are guaranteed. Yep. And like I said, if I had and Brent, if we had more of a, it's not like we don't have a say, because he'll listen to anything we say and he'll try anything. Right. But and I can't say that just because something didn't happen last year wouldn't happen this year. I just can't say that our perfect set list for Kiss diehards is going to happen, because we have that list.
Right.
I mean, Brett and I have talked about it. We're on the same page, and Jason, who may not have, he's a little younger than us. He didn't grow up on that 70s Kiss stuff. But I remember the first time I played him Larger Than Life, we were going to rehearsal, and we were in Carr, and he's like, yeah, man, wow. And he still brings it up now, like that Larger Than Life. I'm like, I know. It's just something like that would make, and there's a lot of people that would, a lot of fans out there that I think would be really, really happy hearing something like that, because you're not getting, I guess when you have a Kiss show, Kiss tour or whatever, there's a chunk of people that go, Kiss, that name, that brand, that concert, that style. Let's go see that. That's going to be fun. Right? But when you have Gene, it's not going to be Kiss. It's not going to be the makeup and the pyrotechnics, the explosions and the fire and the blood. It's not going to be that. So you're going to come to get a more intimate experience with this guy that you know as the Demon, right?
That's right.
So you're going to get more or less, I'd say, diehards more than a casual fan who's like, I like the Kiss image. I remember I had this record, or I like the big songs. Let's go see Kiss. I'm going to take my wife or my girlfriend and whatever. This is more like, I think people that go to see Gene are like,
diehards.
I want to see this side of Gene. I want to see something that I don't get to see at a KISS concert. And the one thing that's guaranteed is we don't use in-ears, which is a normal mainstay with pretty much anybody playing live music now. Everybody puts the in-ears in, has an in-ear mix. Yep. We don't do that. We use old school monitors.
Wow. Okay.
For me, I prefer that because I really enjoy every. I don't care where I am. I don't get a little club or arena or a big place outdoors, whatever. I like going. Here's a day of my life where I'm on a stage playing drums. Like I said, I don't care where I am, and I like taking in the acoustics and the vibe of that room with whatever people are there, whatever it sounds like on stage. I just enjoy that moment of me making noise and trying to groove and all this in that room. Like I said, it doesn't matter what it is. But let's say if you're a drummer and you go into an arena for the first time, you put your drums, they mic up your drums on stage, and there's your PA, and they put your drums in an arena. If you're a drummer, you haven't heard that yet, it's insane. It's just like here I am, hitting my kick drum. Now here's my kick drum, and I'm hitting it in an arena through a PA. It's just insanely massive. Now play your whole drum set. It's just like, oh my God. Right? it's so like I don't know, the first time I did that, I was probably with Vinnie Moore opening up for Rush.
Wow.
In 1991.
Jesus.
So I was like 23. I don't know if I played in an arena prior to that, but it was just like, that's just it's
showing Neil how it's done, right?
Yeah, right. Well, I could tell you I played Neil's drums at Madison Square Garden story.
Tell us.
Tom is a huge Rush fan.
I'm the Rush guy here, so please tell me.
Okay, but let me get back to my point. So you're playing the drums in the arena. Now you go, here you go, Brian, put your in-ears in to get your in-ear mix. You just took away all that fun. You know what I mean?
Great point.
Now I don't get to hear that. And I'm, like I said, I don't care if I'm at a club because it's the reaction of me playing drums and the way I react to how I feel in that room with that band, with those people. I think that's really exciting, and the in-ears take it away. I've done it a million times with the in-ears. It's fine. It's you get a nice mix of everybody, and you can hear everything. But I can't hear what's really going on in that room, which is like the excitement of playing rock and roll to me. It's so in-ears take away a little bit of that. Right. So with Gene, I'm like, cool, man. No in-ears, great. No in-ears. We just got the monitors, and the other thing is, so we don't play to a click track. There's no I'm the drummer. I'm responsible to go, hey, everybody, 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, bap.
That's awesome.
Tempo. So everybody relies on me, which is kind of what drummers are supposed to do. I do think it's cool to have a click track in your head. So you're always playing the correct tempo every night. I've done that with plenty of bands. It's fine. Like, so you're on that side of things, you're giving the audience, this is the tempo, and you're not going to hear a drummer all hyper or all lagging because he's half sick or tired or hungover or jet lag or whatever, or all those versions of songs that are maybe a little too fast. Like some of them, sometimes it gets too fast live. But as a drummer, you want to be responsible to really play, have the tempo be as close to what it should be, and so that's also fun. That's how I grew up playing drums. Was to everybody should rely on me, and if you have a problem with the tempo, it's probably not anybody else. It's the drummer. Hey, you're a little on the back. You're a little. Can you pick it up or can you slow down? And that's a challenge, and that's what I've been aware of my whole life. Is like when it's time to count a band in. I don't care if I'm my high school band playing when we're in my basement rehearsing. When I count the guys in, I've been thinking about this since I was a teenager. Is count the band and make sure it's solid,
So what you're saying now reminds me of what's been in the news this past week or so with the Who and Ringo's son, and then going and doing it live and be like, what the hell? Slow it down. And you can tell, talent, legendary band, legendary drummer, and they still couldn't sometimes get it together.
Well, I don't know much about that. I did see it, and I was like, I've opened up for the Who with Billy Idol, and I've watched Zach and the Who on the side of the stage. So and that was a long time ago. But he's been in the band for decades. Like he's obviously,
right. And they're still having issues though. Like that can happen.
But what I did realize was, which is weird, is like he was on an electronic drum set, right? So he's hitting pads that have volumes on them. So whatever's being fed into everybody's in-ears, he's not controlling. That's your mix guy. Yep. And if something sounded a little bit weird in your mix, so if Roger's coming at Zach saying this or that, he could have been in a crappy mood. He could have had a vocal issue. It could have been people have bad days. These are guys that have been around. These are legends amongst legends. Yeah. And you can't. And it's the Who, man. The Who was never known for. They're always flying on the edge of the seat. You know what I mean? They're always. Like that's the kind of band they've been. That's what made them famous back in the day was this reckless energy, and you never know what's going to happen. So I think it's just a part of that. And I've seen since then Pete Townsend has posted like things got a little went where they shouldn't have went, and it's all
because it became public.
It's so I think it's a misunderstanding. I don't think all of a sudden what Zach has done as a drummer it changed in one show. All of a sudden he's playing this thing that he never played before, this style.
You know how this stuff goes. Now they're like, the Who's like 100 years old. They're complaining about the drums are too loud, and it takes a life of its own. And they're like, it just got a little weird. But in fact, you were talking about the mix and all that, and all that, and so it just got me to thinking of that story. But you were going to tell us a Rush story. I didn't want to get you off track. I'm sorry.
No. But and usually the in-ear stuff is cool. But I've also had the experiences where you haven't had time to sound check, and it's out of whack and things aren't there. And if you don't have like your own little mixer to control the levels of things, if somebody else is feeding it to you and they didn't have time to prepare it, it's the beginning of a tour and you didn't get a sound check or something, you're opening for somebody. I've been there where it's a total mess and it's not helping. And it's almost like it's probably better if I just take these things out and play acoustically and just play in.
Right.
Like everybody used to do it when weren't
way back. Right.
When there weren't even monitors, like the Beatles at Shea or freaking Zeppelin at Royal Albert Hall in 70. The gods being gods saying, we practiced, we put our time in, we're really good musicians. And this is us. I mean, I still go back to that, all the greatest bands that will never be touched because we're, technically in a different place now where we can take advantage of so much that we've created, which is a good thing. But I also think it's like, at what point is it like whatever cheating versus what point is it like too much of a crutch versus being a helpful thing? I don't know. I'll do it whatever way you want me. If Gene said we got to be on a click with the in-ears, okay, we're on a click with in-ears. I've done it. It's his world. But I like that he grew up.
That's awesome.
And he comes from the old school rock, the Humble Pie and the Zeppelin and the Mountain. And he's not in Kiss with the makeup and the cues and the show's all got to be timed right because that's what it is. It's theatrical. It's all about all that stuff. You don't want to be near something, a flash pod that's going to go off in a la James Hetfield or something like that.
Exactly.
So, but we're not doing that. We're playing rock. The way the old school, to go watch Hendrix or Mountain or something, and that's what you got. And we're the Who. Come on, that's how it was. The Stones, Queen, all the biggest best bands that will ever be.
Speaking of the biggest best bands ever, Rush. You said you got to play Neil's kit.
Because it ties into Madison Square Garden. It ties into drums. It ties into Rush and Kiss being
friends
and touring together. I was touring with Vinnie Moore in clubs, 1991, and our manager goes, "Hey, Eric Johnson has to cancel the last 2 weeks. The date's opening for Rush." Starting like in 3 days, you guys are taking his place. You're going to play 10 arenas on the Roll the Bones tour. We're playing little clubs. We were in like Buffalo, New York. It was like December of 91. We're in 2 vans, 6 nights a week in clubs. I was having a blast. It was great. But, oh my God, your first show's at the Philly Spectrum. Then you're going for 2 nights in Madison Square Garden. Then you're going to the, Providence Civic Center, Worcester Centrum, Buffalo, whatever arena. And 10 shows in 2 weeks. I'm like, opening for Rush. So I have my Tamas from 9th grade. I'm 23. I don't have an endorsement yet. I'm playing with Vinny. I bring my we roll up to Madison Square Garden. We rolled up to Philly Spectrum. That was the first show. set up my tamas that I got because of Neil using tama on Rush's stage, and there's Neil's drums behind me. I'm just like, and that's my first time in an arena in the daytime when nobody's there. I went to the highest part of the arena in the corner and took pictures. Like, that was already cool enough. I'm in an arena. So cool. Now there's my drums in front of Neil's on his stage. This is crazy. By the time we all met after the show, and then Madison Square Garden, Neil comes up during our sound check, and it's like just dude, when you're 23 and Geddy, Alex, or Neil are around you, you're just like, what do you say? You know what I mean? So anyways, Neil comes up and I've got my drums in front, and hey Neil, how are you? And then I asked him something about his bass drum, and I don't remember what. And then he just said he goes, have you tried him yet? That's all he said. It wasn't like that. And I go, no. And he goes, go ahead. So I was like,
oh my God.
I go behind, sit on his drums. I just, of course, get whatever playing. And he's just standing in front of his drums, just standing there chuckling when I'm doing drum fills and stuff. Then he goes to his tech, show him the electronics. And they spin the riser 180, and they turn on all these are the African sounds, these are the electronic sounds, the synthesized sounds, whatever. And I'm just messing around. I don't know, 5-10 minutes. And I was kind of like, well, I remember going, well, at what point am I done? Like, I don't want to overstep the welcome. But that was just look back and say, not only was it Neil's drums unexpectedly, it wasn't like it was set up. It was just out of the blue. He lets me do this. It's not only that, it's at Madison Square Garden. And this is maybe second or third time I've been there, but this is the first time I've been in an arena playing drums, outside of the Spectrum the night before. But this is where I saw Kiss at 11 years old in 79. And here I am in 91.
So cool.
On that stage playing Neil's drums, about to open for him. Like, so that was
what a story. Pinch yourself that you got yourself to that point, and you've been just tearing it up ever since. And look, we're going to try to make it to see you in Mohegan. The people out there listening, because you're not out there with a lot of the Kiss podcasts out there, so this is a treat for all the Kiss fans to hear you talk about this stuff. And we're honored that you came on our show and to talk about Kiss and your KISStory, as they say, right?
No, well, thanks for having me, and you guys have a great thing going there, and
thank you.
And like I said, thanks for including me in the book.
Our honor, man.
But yeah, these guys, it's like I don't take it lightly. Like we're all, everybody's getting older and stuff. But that's kind of one of the nice things is when something like this does happen in your life, because that's what life is. You never know. Every day you wake up, something great could happen, something crappy could happen. Who knows? I'm hoping that mostly it's on the better side of things than the suckier side of things. But, when you end up going, cool, there's a point in time where I got to sit behind a kit of drums and play the song, like literally the first songs I put time into learning how to play drums with one of the guys that wrote them, that recorded them, that affected me that heavily. It's just really nice. And it's not like, it doesn't make you feel like, oh man, look at how cool I am doing that. It's not that, because it's like it's more just, it's just nice to have that memory now, to have this thing that was, I was there as a kid and I'm here as an older dude, and I get to do the same thing I did as a kid, but I get to do it with it. You know what I mean? It's just
oh,
crazy.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. It's a moment. It's a moment.
It's your own personal thing that you're just like, wow, I'm experiencing this, from the child to listening to this, to seeing them in concert, now to playing with Gene.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And it's not like I'm the only one who's done it, but it's just for me, it's nice. And it's nice.
Yeah.
I guess it's nice when somebody that you, that had such an effect on you knows your name and compliments your, what you do.
Yes,
and gives you
exactly.
stage and says, take a solo, sing a song.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like I said, it's not just Gene. I've through Billy Amendola, when he was at Modern Drummer, I became a little bit friendly with Peter Criss. I don't know if you remember my name now, but
yep.
You know, I've had a couple talked with him a couple times and gave him a Hall of Fame award at one of the Bonzo Bashes in Jersey.
Wow.
Years ago, and he couldn't make it, but the next year he did show up to present Corky Lang from Mountain the next Hall of Fame award. So it was really good. Peter did show up and talked about a lot of the reasons he used the cowbell was because Corky was using the cowbell in Mountain. So that was just really nice to have that go on in my little Bonzo Bash world that I put together and stuff. But yeah, and Ace, you know, I've been playing on his record. And I really haven't done anything with Paul, but when I was opening up for Kiss with this band, Dead Daisies, years ago,
we saw you.
Paul.
We saw you in Worcester.
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool.
Right.
I also saw you, Brian, way back when you were playing with Jeff Tate doing the Queensryche when you came to Boston. And I remember my friend Jimmy and I went to see you.
I remember you guys talking about this.
And every time I go to a show, you can ask Zeus. Every time I go to a show, I'm always obsessed with the drummer. And I remember looking at my buddy Jimmy. I'm gonna fanboy here a little bit. I remember looking at my buddy Jimmy and being like, "That's Brian Tishi right now. He is crushing these Queensryche songs right now." That was awesome, Brian.
Thank you. That was filling in for Simon Wright for a month.
Yes, that's right.
He was the drummer of the band, but he had to do like Dino Disciple. So I went in there and did that. But yeah, when it was, I think it was still technically Queensryche was battling the Jeff versus.
I think it was Jeff Tate's
Operation Mind Crime
or something.
It wasn't yet that. He was still able to call it Queensryche, but I said playing with Jeff Tate because it was
his. Right.
Because he was the only guy in Queens right there, and I know there was stuff going on at the time, but for me, he was playing the entire Mind Crime record plus the bunch of hits after, that record
awesome.
plus 6 or 7 hits, and I wasn't like the biggest Queensryche fan. I remember Take Hold of the Flame came out, and I got that record. But I liked some of the bigger songs that I heard, but I wasn't like diehard. I remember like Mind Crime came out and somebody's cranking at a party. I remember. Revolution calling. I was like, that's cool. Silent Lucidity, Can't Deny, it's great. So, but anyways, I knew the people that are coming to see this, like these people know what they're supposed to hear. These are, and I wanted to play with great respect to Scott Rockenfield. I really wanted to stick to what fans knew on those records. Like I had a freaking notebook next to me with that whole record charted out, like everything we did, because I wrote every kick drum and every fill. Like that's really,
so cool.
I didn't just go, oh, it's close enough. I can kind of do something here. That's and it was a tall order because we only had a few rehearsals, but I never took it lightly. So for a guy like yourself who went there, I was playing to everybody in that audience with great respect to Jeff Tate, great respect to Rockenfield, Queensryche, and just the fact that I don't care that I'm just a fill-in. And for me, I want you to see that I care about everything going on here tonight.
Absolutely,
I mean?
Which is evident.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. And Jeff is a great guy. I saw him last summer when Gene was on tour. Jeff was playing at Wacken in Germany, this big ass festival.
Oh yeah, the open air.
Great to see Jeff, and he's always been super nice. And I had a great time on that tour. It was a lot of fun, and so I'm glad you saw that show. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, he's Brian Tichy. Brian, before we let you go, tell people. We know you're touring with Gene, but if people are interested in you, social media or anything you're doing, tell our listeners where they can find more information about you and where you're going to be.
Well, I guess at this point you don't have to. I have a website I don't even use. I think the only people if you go there, if you want to send me a message on some studio sessions or taking a lesson or something like that, that's pretty much it. You go there and there's a little section, but everything else there, I'm like, I haven't updated it because people just look at your social media, your Facebook, your Instagram, and all that. So I got Instagram, Facebook, and then I was like, okay, everybody's doing TikTok. I might as well just whatever I put up there, I might as well stick on TikTok as well. I don't even look at TikTok. It's just all too much to follow.
God bless you.
X. So, it's just like basic self promotion, or if something, I'm into something, or something makes me, feel positive enough to post it, whatever. But yeah, I'm all that basic stuff, and I'm doing the Gene stuff gives me a little break. I'm first, it's been a long time, and I'm making a solo record here.
Oh, sweet.
Awesome.
We're doing everything, and it's one of these been procrastinating too long, self-doubt, but like, dude, you start looking at like, what are you waiting for, and what difference does it make? I did this 20 years ago. I had a band. I was singing and playing guitar, and I got a deal in Japan, to put a record out in Japan. Got a deal in the States, and ultimately the label went under right before the record came out. But that was a long time ago. I moved into different things, had kids, went through this and that. It was with Billy Idol for many years, blah, blah, blah. And always had this on the back burner. And I'm like, dude, how long is that back burner going to have this thing sitting there? So I just, and I'm watching my friends release their records, like all these buddies I have. It doesn't matter if that's their full-time gig, or it matters if it's selling a ton. It's not about that. It's about them being creative. Right. John 5 puts out his style records. Richie Kotzen puts out his. Kiko Loureiro. I always forget how to say it. I know how to spell it, but I forget.
Yeah.
Kiko Romegadeth. Loureiro. You know what I mean? Everybody's puts records out. It's like, they're not, we all want to take over the world and headline Madison Square Garden, but at least be creative.
Get it out there.
Finally started. I'm like, okay.
Great.
And it's the floodgates open enough where it became, this is what I do now on when I'm home, and everybody's like, I don't have chores and errands, and I can be left alone. I have drums, guitars, recording equipment, and I can sit here and zone out into my world, and whatever it is, and I just want to get it out there. And that's kind of what I want to do the rest of my life, is be creative.
Awesome.
Like, just be creative. If somebody likes it, great. If somebody doesn't like it, whatever, it is what I am. But yeah, I just, and the more I put it out there and the more you talk about it, the more you got to back it up. You know what I mean? So I wanted to say, I'll be done by the summer, but hopefully I'm fit. Hopefully it's done in the summer, so I can start really seeing about how to get it out there. I don't just want to be like, I'm putting my little thing out there. Get some distribution, put it out there, put some press into it, and see what happens.
Excellent.
Well, when you do, please come back and we'll talk about it.
Big guitar riffs, some screaming, some big fat drums, and maybe a little acoustic twangy one here and there.
Well, you'll have to come back on here and do a press tour with it. So we wish you the best of luck, Brian. He is the great Brian Tishi. Check him out. Support him. If you're a fan of the Gene Simmons Band and all this stuff, which you are because you listen to us, go see them and help support Brian and everything he does. Brian, thank you. This has been incredible.
Thank you so much, Brian.
What an awesome conversation. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thanks a lot, you guys. I appreciate it.
Good luck, buddy.
Tom, that was the great Brian Tichy. What do you think?
I loved it. So many different things we talked about. I loved everything from nerding out with some inside drummer talk, explaining the brilliance and greatness of Peter and why he was so awesome, talking about touring with Gene and talking about his personal KISStory and his opinions on Eric Singer and Eric Carr. I love when we have musicians on, and musicians that are KISS fans, because they talk about the little intricacies that me and you don't know about as just fans. So it was an honor. It was great. And I can tell you right now, and I know that you'll have something to say about this, once again, the non-recorded part of our conversation with Brian was off the charts.
It was longer than the interview. The interview was over an hour.
Yeah.
I will tell you guys this. I thought it was fucking awesome. He blew me away with a lot of his comments about the Gene stuff, the set list, the music, how it works.
Yep.
I will tell you, though, we had a round table with him, Tracy Guns, Chris Jericho, and Eddie Trunk, they would have a conversation longer than if you played all our podcasts together.
Oh, and I don't know who, they'd all be fighting over oxygen. So I don't even know how anybody would talk. Incredible.
Fucking love it that Brian was that talkative.
It was awesome.
And what's amazing is, we're going to take a little pat on the back here. He doesn't do podcasts and KISS stuff. He doesn't.
No.
This is the only one that I know of for a while that I've seen him on to have this conversation.
Me too.
And he chose wisely. I'll be honest with you. We had a blast with him. I learned a shit ton that I didn't know before. And like Tom said, the shit that that we didn't have on the air was just mind-boggling. I think Brian is amazing. I think he's an extreme talented person. I love that he's now part of the KISS family. He's obviously earned his stripes, been a KISS fucking member since he was a child. And I love getting these type of people on the show, people that, we don't always hear from, not people that are always doing the rounds.
Doing the circuit. Yep.
Yeah. In that, okay, I'll catch him on this podcast. I'll catch him on that podcast the next week. And then that one on the next week. These are always fun for us. And yeah, we loved it. And we had a great time talking with him.
I loved one of my favorite parts of the episode when he was talking about Peter's ability to drum, and he kept doing. He goes, yeah, because when he's playing a song like Rock Bottom, he's going do that, like when he was doing all that, like just kind of like play. I love that. And the other hilarious thing, and we asked him about this. He did the entire interview with a guitar in his lap, not drumsticks or sitting behind a drum kit, because he plays the guitar too, and as you heard, he sings. Fucking what a great guest.
Awesome. He had a guitar in his lap the whole time. It's funny. Awesome. I said to Tom, I'm like, God, he fucking looks like Nick Simmons.
Kinda, yeah. No, he's true. Yeah. Oh. He was great. We hope you guys loved it. I mean, I shouldn't even said we know you guys loved it. And we're just honored to have another great guest on there.
And we hope that you like the fucking variety that we're trying to give you.
Yep.
Constantly growing and constantly giving you guys better content. That's what we
That's right.
Enjoy it. I hope you like it. And Tom, what we do next, we go to the question of the week.
And our question of the week is brought to us by the great Shout It Out Loudcast Hall of Famer and friend of the show, our buddy Tony Barone of ABCPA Inc. If you haven't done your taxes now, you're in trouble, but Tony can help you because ABCPA Inc. is an accounting firm located in the suburbs of Chicago, can assist you in all of your advisory and maintenance services for your accounting and tax needs. For businesses, they can help you with everything from starting your business to financial statements, bookkeeping, payroll, your payroll tax returns, your sales tax returns, and of course, the filing of all of your federal and state income tax returns. For individuals, they can help you with everything from accounting for sole proprietorships, rental real estate, trust and estate returns, and of course, your personal, federal, and state income tax returns. And because ABCPA Inc. has access to all 50 states, Zeus, it doesn't matter if you're in
Minnesota
or
Montana.
They have access to everybody out there, so they can help you with everything regarding your business and your individual returns. And, of course, they can prepare an e-file on your behalf. Follow him on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Check him out on his website at abcpainc.com or call Tony directly at 708-430-3232, 708-430-3232. That's ABCPA Inc. And trust me, I'll say it again as I say every week, Tony is not only a friend of the show and a Loudcaster Hall of Famer, we've also done business with him directly and have used his services. They're incredible. Timely, responsive, great communication. Please check him out, ABCPA Inc. And with that being said, our question comes from our buddy Kevin Doyon, and this is regarding Ace. It's no secret that Ace has been labeled irresponsible and untrustworthy at times over the course of his career. But let's say that he was the exact opposite and that he's put out the same music in this catalog. There's been no changes. But what do you think Ace would be today in the world of rock?
I think he'd be less interesting. If the music's the same, I don't think he'd be better because he's not fucked up in mush brain. I don't think anything would change. If you're telling me that the only difference about Ace would be the Ace from debut to solo album continuously got better and got his music and wasn't a fucking drunk. That would be impressive to me, that if we got to see the more inventive and he got better at guitar and he got more important, he wasn't a fucking wasting of his talent, that would be more interesting. But the fact that if he's sober and he's still putting out fucking
Anomaly,
Bronx Boy and fucking Pursuit of Rock and Roll, whatever the fuck that is, and Genghis Khan, that ain't getting better because he did it when he was sober. Then you'd be like, what the fuck?
I think the only thing that would have changed Kevin was that he would have he'd have a better relationship with Kiss. I still think he would have left the band because he didn't like what they were doing with Dynasty and Unmasked and all that stuff. So I still think he would have left Kiss, but I think obviously, like you said, the music wouldn't really change, just his behavior. I think he'd have a better relationship with the band. I think he'd be touring better, although that doesn't seem to affect ticket sales. And I just think he would be more respected and I know there's the Ace cult out there, but I think even Kiss fans would probably look at him and be like, fuck, look at Ace Frehley still kicking ass. Now he's like a cartoon character because he's just a mess.
And I think he gets away with more shit.
Of course
he's a fucking mush brain.
I think you're right. People give him the benefit of the doubt. Like,
exactly.
Look at the guy.
I think if he was sober and this bad, people are like, oh, fuck.
Right.
It's like fucking Frankie Valli up there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
It's just
you're
fucking horrendous.
I just think the only thing that I would have liked to have seen him, maybe he'd have a better relationship with the band if he wasn't such a disaster. But I mean, maybe you'd see him coming to Vegas if he was like that kind of guy. But that's obviously not going to happen. But anyways, Kevin, great question. Thank you, my friend.
You know, I started drinking when I was 13.
Of course,
maybe that's part of the problem, buddy.
That is exactly the problem.
All right, Tom, where can people find us?
So as we mentioned earlier, check out our newly designed and freshened up website at shoutoutoutloudcast.com. That you can find all the episodes, all of our Shout Out Loudcast album review crew. We just dropped my pick for the month of April, Permanent Waves by Rush with the great Martin Popoff, incredible rock journalist and fellow Pantheon podcaster. So you can check that out. And of course, Dorm Damage, Zeppelin Chronicles, everything is on there. Links to our book, Raise Your Glasses, which Martin was a part of, and so was Brian Tishi a part of also too. So check that out. Links to our Patreon, links to our Amazon shopping, links to our merch, links to our social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Threads, Blue Sky. Everything is there. And, of course, we always like to tell you to reach out to us via email at shoutoutoutloudcast@gmail.com. We read a question of the week every week, just like Kevin, so please keep those rolling in so we can get yours read and be part of the show. And, of course, we always like to say that we're a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network of shows.
Yeah, you can always DM us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, motherfucker. Check out our Spotify playlist. We just did one last week for the Vinnie Vincent one, where that's where you check out on Spotify our profile, not the podcast, and you'll be able to see some of the playlists we've created there for the episodes. Make sure that you go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And give us one of those 5-star child reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, and on Amazon. When you go there, even on our book, if you've purchased it in the past, please go and give a 5-star review. It moves us up the food chain and gets us in front of more eyes, and it's very helpful and beneficial. And if you want to help us, that's a great way of doing so, by giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. Also on Amazon. And make sure you go to our website, shoutitoutloudcast.com, shoutitoutloudcast.com, where Tom mentioned you can get our merch. You can look at all the album review crew stuff, everything you can imagine about the show, about our opinions, about our guests, about some of the artists we've had on, all right there, shoutitoutloudcast.com. It's there for you, the listener. Tom, what we do next is we always end on famous last words. Do you have any?
Of course. I'm too much to hold. I can't be bought or sold. I'm far more than a man. I'm going to make you understand. I'm larger than a life-size man.
Parasite lady, parasite eyes. Parasite lady, no need to cry. Nice. Brian Tishi, Tom, Kiss, Army, Loudcasters, thank you.
Brian Tishi, thank you so much. Incredible time with you. Loudcasters, everybody out there, you guys rock. Thank you so much. Zeus, as always, my friend. Thank you.
Peace out, Girl Scout. Hit the music. What I'd like now is for all you fat, out-of-shape, worldwide kiss-tards to keep the noise down while I show your ladies what a real sexy man looks like.
Listen, all you people out there sitting on rented furniture, settle down.
Cut the music. Anybody seen Richie? Anybody know why Richie did Bobby Lupo?